Oz Ben Amram, who is an Israeli lawyer who lives in New York City.
Thank you. My people. This is for anyone who cares about Israel. In the next few minutes, I will give you some quick history and explain what the legislative coup is about. I will teach you 3 words in Hebrew, and I will arm you with 4 paths for action you can take to help. My name is Oz Ben Amram, and I'm a member of USA for Israeli Democracy. I was born and raised in Jerusalem and served for many years as an officer in the Israeli army. After graduating from Tel Aviv University Law School, I clerked in the Supreme Court of Israel, and I've practiced law in Israel and here in New York. My mother was born in Europe and escaped the Holocaust to lose her only brother, a fighter pilot in the '67 war. My father was born in Jerusalem after his parents moved from Iran. My parents danced in the streets when the State of Israel was established. But that's all ancient history. What's going on now? Unlike the US, Israel has effectively only 2 branches of government, not 3. The executive branch, which because of Israel coalition system, also controls the Knesset and its legislative power, and the judiciary. The courts are the only branch that can constrain the legislators and executives' use and abuse of power. It's the court that protects individual rights in Israel. That's because Israel has no formal constitution, and the Israeli separation of powers runs thin. The presidency is a ceremonial role only. There are only 1 house of parliament, no federal and state system, no regional elections, nothing else. And now, the current government wants to control the courts. There will be no checks and balances, only unlimited power. And we know how regimes with unlimited power end. Spoiler alert, it always ends in the expense of personal freedoms and civil liberties. Most people in Israel do not want to live under authoritarian regime. That's why every week, hundreds of thousands of people in Israel from diverse sectors have been going out to the streets in a non-violent protest and chanting. And this is the first Hebrew word I'm teaching you, and I don't even have to explain its meaning. Demokratia. 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 So how did we get here? The short story is that when the country was established, the founders of the State of Israel weren't able, for various reasons, to reach a consensus and establish a constitution. And that means, among other problems, no agreed upon formal Bill of Rights, no separation of religion and state, and for years Israelis managed to live together with formal and informal agreements. So what changed? Israeli newly re-elected Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is a defendant in multiple criminal cases for bribery and corruption. Like all decent, and instead of resigning, like all decent and not so decent accused officials before him, he decided to stay in power, that he must stay in power. Since most parties in the Knesset refused to support him in this phase, he formed a coalition made up of extremists. He appointed a man who was the subject of 53 criminal investigations, and who was convicted multiple times, including for violence and for supporting a terrorist organization, as his police minister. I kid you not. His finance minister called to raze to the ground Hawara, a Palestinian village that Jewish settlers rummaged through and burned in a pogrom last week. And thinking about it makes me cry out shame. And this is the second... And this is the second Hebrew word you probably know by now, busha. Busha Busha, Busha. So he's also brought in the ultra-Orthodox parties who wants the country to run according to Jewish halachic law, and for their children not to serve in the army. So it's no surprise that his partners don't like the so-called liberal rulings of the court, or any court, since it restrains their agenda by upholding equality, by protecting LGBTQ rights, women's rights, minority rights. So what legislation have they started to pass? 1, the government will appoint its own judges. 2, the legislator will be able to overrule the court's decisions. 3, the legal advisors to the various ministers, those civil service representatives of the Attorney General who are responsible for upholding the rule of law, they will be replaced by political appointees. And these are just 3 examples, there are many more. And this is only the first phase. Imagine what other laws they will pass once the court is out of the picture. Don't get me wrong, an elected government has the right to legislate. They can change things. I may not like what they do. I do not like many things they do, but it's legitimate. This is something else. They are dismantling the system of checks and balances that is required in a democracy, the contract that has kept Israeli society together. This is not legitimate. That's why hundreds of legal scholars, finance and business people, and security experts are expressing their deep concerns. That's why hundreds of thousands of Israelis have been in the streets every week for the last 10 weeks, demonstrating and chanting Demokratia and Busha. Last night, nearly 500,000 people protested in Israel. That's roughly equivalent of 20 million people in the US, if you do the ratios. This is not about right and left. This is about democracy versus autocracy. And there are only a few weeks left until they finish this legislative blitz. So why am I hopeful? Because the silent majority has woken up. Masses of pro-democracy Israelis have woken up. And as Yuval Noah Harari pointed out, there is no going back. They are now demanding to protect civil liberties by establishing a formal Bill of Rights, a constitution, or in Hebrew, chukah, and this time because of the sound, I'm not going to ask you to repeat after me. I hope you understand that if you care about Israel, staying silent is not an option. If we did not protest this, we would accept a legislative coup that would change Israel forever. We are watching a democracy fighting for its life, and if Israel is no longer a liberal democracy, the US may no longer be its close ally. You may feel that it's weird to protest against Israel from abroad, that it may be playing into the hands of Israel's enemies. I'm here to tell you that doing nothing will bring about the destructions of Israel. This is a protest for preserving Israel democracy. If the legislation passes, and what will be left will not be the Israel we know and love. Americans and Israelis living abroad may no longer fight for that Israel. When you think about other terrible moments in history, and we ask ourselves, how did people let that happen? Why didn't they stop it? Well, here we are. Do not be those people who stand silent. So what can you do? Be active in the real world. Come to demonstrations, talk to your representative, sign political letters and petitions. Make sure the world knows where you stand on this issue. And please point out your phone cameras and scan the QR code, and there are a few others in the crowd raising their hands, to join our WhatsApp group, which is action-driven, which will give you information about actions you could take and what you can do. Second, spread the word online. Share information with your network to help us go viral. Make it a priority to help us connect with other communities. There are only few Americans who are still taking action right now. So there's the other role and the other scan. And if you could join our Substack media library or subscribe to the YouTube channel at USA, the digit 4, Israeli democracy. 3, be supportive. Give money to organizations that support pro-democracy causes in Israel and in the US. And you can find a list of those on our website, USA, 4, IsraeliDemocracy.org. And 4, stay informed. Follow Haaretz in English, the Times of Israel, Tom Friedman at the New York Times. Talk to Israelis you know, your Israeli friends, and if you don't have any, come talk to me. And stay safe. Protect your mental health. It may be a bumpy ride, but I hope you join us in demanding democratia.
Democracia! 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 Democracia!
Thank you. And if I can ask the people who are behind us, everyone to go to the front. We're going to take a picture. So everyone go here, between my hands.
Yes, everyone please join us on the other side in front of the speaker so we can have big pictures showing how many wonderful people are here to protest.